Aloha and welcome to Holistic Wellness Revealed. I'm Leticia Sharp and I'm your host today on our episode where we're going to be speaking all things Kirtan. Kirtan? Well, we're going to find out how to pronounce that when we talk to Laureen McCoy. Aloha, Laureen. Welcome today.
Aloha, Leticia.
I'm so happy to have you on. So I get a little bit flubbed up on how to say it. Is it Kirtan, Kirtan, help me out.
Pronounced both ways by different people. Kirtan comes from Sanskrit, and it means to recite and to give glory.
Oh, I love that.
These ancient texts, Vedic texts that were written before Christ, thousands of years, told stories of what happened in the Vedic pantheon of gods and of Krishna's appearance on earth in 3228 BC. And it mentioned Kirtan, and it's one of the practices of bhakti. It developed during post BCE. It developed during the 7th to 10th centuries. Vaishnavism developed, and that was a sect of Hinduism that worships Krishna as the coming directly from Vishnu and being an embodiment of divine love, and his consort, chief consort Radha, which Radha is the feminine aspect of Krishna.
Okay.
When all these texts came about, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, these are huge texts written in great detail about Krishna's life. Kirtan was mentioned as one of the practices of bhakti. Bhakti being, there are 9 practices in which one would hone their obelisk, hone their soul, their spirit, to be able to advance beyond the birth, life, death cycle, beyond this earthly plane, and beyond the Maya.
Okay.
One of the practices, there's 9 of them, is called Vidya Bhakti. It's about Kirtan. It's about singing praise. The object of that is to get beyond your monkey mind, sing directly to the divine, to that personalized God in the case with Vaishnavism. So that was still being done. Many mantras were written, many bhajans were written. But then in the 16th century, along came Lord Chaitanya, who was much like Krishna in that he immediately struck everybody with his presence because he looked kind of like a divine beyond human form, tall, golden, long arms, long legs. And he was always in this ecstatic state of being in connection with Krishna. And people will say that he was Krishna re-embodied and came to earth to teach people how to practice bhakti. And bhakti, again, is just pure devotional practice to advance the soul. And he took Kirtan to another level because everybody fell in love with Kirtan. Young people fell in love with Kirtan. And there was this whole passion that got developed around Kirtan in India then, and grew beyond the borders of India, all around the world to today. Kirtan's practice, with variations, and I was part of a Kirtan group where we were a variation of that. But in Vaishnavism and in Hindu sects and in India, Kirtan has a format, it has protocols. So in Kirtan and in the practice of bhakti, we work every day on our divine devotional practices, which include Kirtan, And we are searching to achieve moksha, which is freedom from the birth, life, death cycle, freedom from the constraints of this earthly plane, and to exist in Krishna Loka, which is heaven.
Okay, so what I hear from all of this is we've got divine love, embodiment in this physical plane. We have freedom to be able to release our monkey mind, which I'm all about because I sometimes get super analytical inside of my brain. And I didn't realize, is there a difference between kirtan and mantras, or are they one and the same? Because I've practiced a lot with mantras, and I've been in almost like a concert. It was actually my first experience with Krishna Das, and everyone was singing with him, and there was like sheets. Is that kirtan or was that mantras?
Yeah, so kirtan is a practice of call and response, singing in praise of the divine, in glorification of the divine, and to get a main line, connect with the divine. That's where you're trying to go. That's where Krishna Das is trying to take you. Okay. Into ecstatic singing is what we call it. A mantra, the meaning of mantra is that it can be many things, really. It can be an affirmation that someone says to themselves every day. I am beautiful, I am whole. That can be a mantra. There's Buddhist mantras, there's Hindu mantras. Mantra is a repetition of saying a single thought or a glorification to a deity. It can be where you're calling in spirit. That can be a mantra. There's ways of doing that, an invocation, so to speak. Buddhist monks do it. They do it in Islam. Mantras done, if you think about it, in pretty much every religion and in indigenous religions, because there's chants, and chant and mantra are the same to me. Anyway, chant, mantra, it's conveying a powerful meaning, and you're repeating it, whether you're call and response singing it, or you're in meditation repeating it to yourself. That's mantra. And there's many beautiful sacred mantras. I have a few that I'm very attached to in all religions. And I learned much of those, different mantras, so to speak, and chants when I was in a Kirtan group for 15 years, where we were a universalist Kirtan. So every time we did Kirtan, we had chants to all religions. We represented different religions. We sang fire tribe songs. We sang rainbow tribe songs. Everything was divine to spirit, and it was call and response, so that everybody's sitting with us. We had lots of good musicians, and get everybody worked up, and people would sing back and forth. And often the format is in a kirtan is you start out slow with the mantra or the chant, the concept, and then you start to get faster, and then you get a little faster, and then, like you remember with Krishna Das, boom, 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 when you're really at the height of it all. And that's as people transcend into an ecstatic state beyond their mind and experience what we call ananda, which is bliss in Sanskrit. Just in the pure bliss of connecting with the divine. But always, Vaishnavism and many, and Buddhism and all of them would say, yeah, but come from that humble place, not I am God. I think that's something that happens. That's another conversation in our modern society. Not that it's that you are in pure devotion and glorification and adoration of God, whatever God is to you.
Thank you. Thanks for that distinction. And I love how you put what a mantra is, because it's not only for Sanskrit. So that really cleared that up for me. Have you spent time in India? Have you spent a lot of time
Mhm.
there? Is that where your practice was, your Kirtan group or Kirtan
Well,
group?
no, my Kirtan group came here. We were friends from Fire Tribe. We used to have Fire Tribe fire circles where the whole night long, you dance and sing around the fire sacred songs. And you have a very elaborate group of musicians. Architecture of the circle is amazing. We spend the whole weekend there, and we did it every solstice and equinox for many years. And then that kind of disbanded. But this group of friends came from Fire Tribe, and we wanted to sing in circle with friends. So we said, let's start a kirtan group. But we made it a universal kirtan. And we always had a full room, and people came to sing because people love to do that. I mean, people really responded to it. Then during that period of time, I met my partner, who is Vaishnavi, and he's lived in India a lot, and he's lived at different ashrams. And so we do have one here, ISKCON on the Pali, the ISKCON temple. That's a Vaishnav temple. And I started going there more, going to classes, reading Bhagavad Gita, and learning more about Kirtan there. And then in 2018, I left my career of 40 years, hopefully to retire for the rest of my life. And we went to India that year and spent a couple of months. We went to Rishikesh in Delhi and Taj Mahal, Mathura, but mostly we stayed in Vrindavan, which is the birthplace of Krishna and Radha. There's 5,500 temples there. So you can never go to all of them. We went to mostly the big ones and the ISKCON one there, and did kirtan during the day. There's 24/7 kirtans in some of them that haven't stopped for years and years and years. And there's bhaktas, as they would call them, in there doing call and response kirtan. And it's in front of the deities, so that you're always singing to the deities constantly in the temple. And I experienced very ecstatic kirtans there, especially during Kartik. We were there in Kartik, which is a holy month. And people just lose themselves in ecstasy. And it's so cathartic to do that. If you just get in there with them, and the dancing, the singing, the just glory, singing to the deities. For Hindus, it's your deities, your gods and goddesses and deities are very personal. They have form, they have attributes. There's certain parts of the universe they take care of. And people get very personal with praying to God. Whereas, like, if you're in Sikhism, it's more like the God without form, or with Hebrew, God without form, and same in Islam. But the same thing, it's all the same in that you're looking to connect with the divine.
So you mentioned that some of these temples have had kirtan for years, 24/7. I mean, so I know personally for me, and what I've experienced is that when they're singing, the energy rises up. The frequency is different. And what is it like when you walk into that space? Can you feel it when you walk in? Does your hair stand up on end? Do you just feel your heart opening?
Yeah, I go in, if I'm in with people at that state, you go in, you look in their eyes, you sing with them, you sing to each other, and then you dance, and then you sing to God. And it's everybody's in that state. And even with our kirtans we did them in yoga studios or outdoors, or it was a Buddhist temple we used to go to that was gorgeous, and did it in there. And same thing, people, we're singing with each other and to each other at the same time we're singing to the divine. And it's palpable because you're rising out of your mundane self and into your eternal, your spiritual, self that takes you to that state of ecstasy. It's all with an understanding, and the understanding of what all that is and how to feel it. That's my work to do every day of my life, and your work to do every day of your life, if that is your goal. When you do Kirtan, you should always ask yourself, what is my goal here? Until you don't have to ask yourself ever again. Just keep asking that. Because it's hard for us to transcend our egoic selves. We're human. It's only natural.
It is only natural. I keep on coming back to that. So I have a question about the meanings, because a lot of the gods that you speak of and the names that you're saying, and even when I do some of the mantras, I don't know what I'm saying. Like, I'm just singing them. And I don't actually, even with the Krishna Das experience, I had never heard the words before. And a lot of them, I just was like, I didn't know how to speak any of the words that were on that piece of paper that I was being given. And then there was one that came up and I just knew it. I knew it. My entire being knew it. And I sang it and I was like, oh my gosh, what did that mean? And I asked him after, and it had something to do with like just the divine source, and tapped into that. And you shared a mantra with me, the Mula mantra, and I would love to, you sang it to me and I just knew that I wanted to learn it, and I'm still learning it. And I've heard it with Deva Premal when I work, and I didn't know what it meant. And then once you told me what it meant, I was like, oh, then it felt even more strong. And what I've also heard is that you don't necessarily have to have the meaning, because there's a vibration with the words, and there's a vibration and a frequency with the sound. So can you talk a little bit about that? And two-part question, share the Mula mantra.
Yes. And, anytime in Kirtan, you may show up and you may not be aware of the Sanskrit words if you're singing Sanskrit mantras and chants, or even if you're singing an Islamic one, you or a Sufi one, you might, or Hebrew. I would say anytime you go there, and if, like, we always handed out song sheets which had the meaning, so people knew what they were singing about. But let's say you show up and you're singing the Kirtan, and you just really listen, and then really repeat back the words and the melody as you hear them, but only concentrate on that and let it go. Then afterwards, you can go look them up. You can learn. You can't, this is too long. We wouldn't have time for a discussion here to speak about the pantheon of deities in Hinduism and what they represent, or anything else theological. But you can always do your own research, and then you can connect more deeply if that calls to you. And if you're a Buddhist and the Buddhist principles call to you, then you can learn them more deeply. It's whatever it is. You learn more Sanskrit words as you participate more in Sanskrit mantra and Kirtan. They start to become more familiar, but it's a very complex, very ancient language.
Oh, I've noticed.
That feeling in that moment, because you don't want to get back into your mind trying to understand, or I'm reading the words up there so I know what I mean. If you can glance them, if they have them on a screen, that's great to get a better meaning. But if not, just go deep within yourself and really listen and really respond back, call and response, and say, that's what I'm getting into the moment and the vibration here. And then you can go look it up later if you want a deeper understanding.
And so that's a really great point too, because there's so many times in this life experience where we don't take time to listen. We just talk, or we're trying to get our thoughts across. But when you really do so, that would be a good practice to be able to heighten that skill, that part of our human experience that helps us to be able to connect to each other and to ourselves and to our spirit and to nature and everything. So that's beautiful.
That's what it's all about.
Is there, do you have a moment now? Would you be able to share what the Mula mantra is?
Yeah. So I'll share one with you now. This is one of my favorite, called the Mula mantra. And this is one of the oldest mantras. And it goes, Om Sachitananda Parabrahma Purushottama Paramatma Sri Bhagavati Sameta Sri Bhagavate Namaha. And the meanings are, Om, we are calling on the highest energy of all there is. Sat, the formless. Chit, consciousness of the universe. Ananda, pure love, bliss, and joy. Parabrahma, the supreme creator. Purushottama, who has incarnated in human form to help guide mankind. Paramatma, who comes to me in my heart and becomes my inner voice whenever I ask. Sri Bhagavate, the Divine Mother, the power aspect of creation. Sameta, together within. Sri Bhagavate, the Father of creation, which is unchangeable and permanent. So that's the meaning of that mantra, but it is an invocation, and you need not think about the meaning of it, of every word as you're reciting it, just to know that this is an invocation of the One, calling in the One, the powerful creation force of the universe, to come to you with the masculine and feminine attributes. And you're singing in total reverence to that.
That feels really balanced. That feels holistic, which is what this show is all about. So it feels like it does. It touches me on all levels: mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. And I'm getting a sense that that is what this practice does, is it combines all of our parts to be able to vibrate in equanimity and equal levels, so that we can have that balance.
Yes. It happens, for me in my life, the first time I started singing a cappella in a group was prayer songs in Shipibo medicine prayers. And was always moments during these ceremonies where everybody is on the same vibration, singing the medicine songs together, and you can feel it. It's there, and you feel it. So I'll end with the mantra.
Wow.
Om Sachitananda Parabrahma Purushottama Paramatma Sri Bhagavati Sameta Sri Bhagavati Namo. Then you would just keep singing that until you're done singing that. If anybody is out there is interested in learning more about Kirtan, you can certainly find a lot online, lots of YouTube, lots of all the musical platforms have Kirtan songs. You can go to Facebook and just type in Kirtan, and you'll find groups on this island that you might want to connect with. Or where, if you travel anywhere in the world, you could just type in Kirtan and find out what's available there and then. And it's just everywhere now. It's become very popular practice of spirituality.
I love that. And when you were singing, Laureen, I just wanted to touch base with how I felt. I mean, I felt different, and that's just from hearing it. I know that when I do mantras, I feel different when I sing it and when I listen. So if anyone is interested, I highly recommend finding either a group practice. Don't be intimidated by not knowing the words or the deities or the meanings. Just practice. And if you are a little shy, then go ahead and practice at home with YouTube, just like Laureen said. Find some YouTubes or get on Pandora or Spotify, and they actually have the words on Spotify. So for a lot of them, so you can actually read them and sing them at the same time. So
yeah, and you can come to us at the ISKCON Temple. Sunday afternoons, there's a kirtan that starts around 4:30, and then there's an artik that follows. There's a talk. All are welcome, and then dinner is served after. All are welcome. It's all on the house, free, and there's plenty of people there that will love to talk to you.
I love that.
Yeah, kirtan, and we all know the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That's sung a lot in the ISKCON Temple.
I love it. Thank you so much, Laureen. Thanks for taking the time and for sharing your heart with us and your knowledge, your wisdom. And thank you also to ThinkTech Hawaii for giving us a platform to be able to have these heartfelt discussions and conversations, and to all of our sponsors and donors for keeping us up on the air. And remember,
mahalo for letting me participate.
Oh, thank you so much, Laureen. And just a word to the viewers, just remember that you are exactly what it is that you require to be able to find your peace and your happiness from the inside out. Aloha.
Thank you so much for watching ThinkTech Hawaii. If you like what we do, please like us and click the subscribe button on YouTube and the follow button on Vimeo. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and donate to us at thinktechhawaii.com. Mahalo.